What's up, guys? Top Cities Model Workshop here today. We are going to be messing around with the new 6.4 Impala from Revell. It's pretty much the same as the older Impalas that they've produced throughout the years. The only difference is it has some newly tooled wheels, maybe a little cleaner of mold, but all in all the same. The wheels are the same. Like it's pretty much the same kit, just repurposed, which is really sad to me. But today we're going to show you how to cut the top off one of these. If it's maybe something you wanted to do, been scared to do, or you're just looking at maybe a different way to do it, whatever. Hopefully, this video works for you. um, Unfortunately, it's harder to get a boot for these than you would think, so you need to order one from online or wherever you can find it from another kit. Whatever it may be, you want to try to find a boot. It is possible to just leave it without the boot, but I don't really recommend it. It just kind of looks unfinished and tacky. But without further ado, we're going to get right into it, guys, okay? So what you're going to need for this, of course, you're going to need your model body, okay? Good to go. All right. We have not washed it, haven't sanded it. We haven't done anything with it. This is new right out of the package. What else you may or may not need? You're going to need one of these, but I have both, so I'm going to use both, okay? We have the small X-Acto knife, large X-Acto knife, brand new blades, good blades, not the cheap blades. Spend the money on the blades, guys. And a marker. I'm using pink because unfortunately black on these, you got to sand it out. It doesn't come off very well. So I like to use a lighter color that, sands away pretty easy. So I'm going to be using pink for this. So that's up to you what you use. So the first thing you're going to want to do, get online, see how these actually look. All right. So you don't want to go chopping off the whole top of here, whatever. You don't know how it looks. Okay. So once you figure out how it looks, what I would recommend is you want to go ahead and mark this in a way that you can sand up to what you need. So you can always take more off, but you can't put it back. Okay? That's the rule of thumb on this. Even with working on auto body or anything like that, you're always going to want to leave enough that you can play around with, not take so much off that you're stuck. So how we're going to do this, I'm just going to mark this real quick on both sides. Okay. So I'm going to put a little curve to it in the end, but for right now's sake, I'll take a straight edge on something. All right, you go to your two lines that you have marked. And like I said, we're going to leave enough that we have some playroom. Okay, so we have that one line marked. All right, and like I said, eventually this is going to have a little bevel to it. Just a little bevel, like a little crescent shape to it, eventually. Okay, so we have enough there that we have room to play with. And we don't want to make it to where the structure is not sound when we're trying to cut it, right? Okay, and then along the back here, you'll see this like beveled edge, right? So you want to, let me go ahead and do this real fast, then I'll show you guys. So all you're gonna do, okay, all you're gonna do is just follow that beveled edge. Okay, you want to leave the riser. So it has like a 2-line riser on it. Sorry, I'm trying to get the focus here, guys. Has a 2-line riser right here. You want to cut it above the riser. Okay? So make sure you cut that above the riser. And what you're going to do is you're going to mark that on both sides. Okay? Be liberal with your marker. It's okay. Like I said, don't use black if you can help it. And our rule of thumb is what? Leave enough to play with. We can always, always take more, but we cannot put it back. So now that we're marked, what we're going to do, we can do a couple things here. Okay, so what I don't want you to do is grab your snits and start snipping. Okay, what that's going to do is going to mess your cut up. It's going to, because when you snip on this, what happens is it pushes plastic apart before it cuts, right? So what that's doing is that's putting tension on your structure here. Your structure, it's just not good. So what you're going to do, take one of your X-Acto knives, okay? Get your get your body down where you can get it, and just take your hand, press it, okay, and then just start on one end or the other, okay? Get you a new knife, like I said. What you're going to do is you're just going to go over that line. The first time doesn't need to be extremely deep, but it needs to be deep enough to where you can feel it so that your knife can drag back in that same exact line. So you're going to start over here again, and you're just going to keep dragging that same continuous line. Not putting so much pressure on the line that you're going off of it or whatever it may be. So now that we have our line started, we're going to focus on the middle. Okay, so we're just going to keep dragging that across the middle. Okay, and I'm going to show you in a second what this is going to do. So you're going to keep dragging this across, okay, until eventually you're going to start to see the bevel on the underside. So I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there is a line here that's showing me where I'm cutting on the top. Okay, so once I see that line, it'll show up whiter than the white on the thing. And you want to make sure, so there's a couple windshield holders right here. There's one on each side, right here and right here. That's what's holding your windshield in. So you want to make sure your line is behind the windshield holding brackets. Okay, so you can see it from there. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go over this a couple more times. Trying not to put a ton of force. We're just running it through there. We're not rushing. Okay, so we can start to see our line really good on the bottom now. All right, once we do break through the middle, what we're going to do is, so we just finally broke through on the middle our first time. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our sides a little more now. Like I said, guys, just go soft. There's no need to put a ton of pressure on your roof. There's just really no need. Okay, and watch it when you drag down, because unfortunately what you can do is you can end up dragging down and scuffing the car, which you don't want to do. So we're going to cut these trusses like this as deep as we can. Excuse me, not the trusses, but the window trim. Okay. And then we're going to continue from the middle on over to here. And we're going to continue to do that until we feel a let go. Okay. All right. So we have our line. Okay. We're just tracing our line. That's all we're doing. We're just tracing our line with our knife. We're not in a rush. We're not trying to get it on the first run. We understand it takes time. Okay. Now once you do start to feel it pull loose a little bit, I don't want you to disconnect this all the way quite yet. Okay, what I want is for you to leave it in place for the moment. Okay, so we have this almost all the way cut through. Okay. Now what you can do at this point, you can take your snips. Now that you have a little bit of, give here, right? There's already a line, so it's going to give really easy. Take your snips at this point, and you're going to come over here, and you're just going to start cutting the edge with the tips of your snips. Okay, just the tips. You don't want to put it all the way on like this. You don't want to put it all the way in there. You just want the little edge of your snips. And you're just going to snip that trim. That's it. That's simple. Okay? So now that we have that done, we're going to follow that groove now all the way across. Okay. So we were broken through in many spots. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start tracing the back now. Okay. We're doing the same exact thing. Now I have done this with a multi-tool, and with a little cutting wheel. Cut it off. I cut it off real high, and then I trim down. You can do that too. Not everybody has one of those, so I wanted to make this video for people that don't. Okay, so you can see how we're broken through here. We can start to see that. Okay, so we're just going to go along this edge and just work our knife. Like I said, we do not want to break this structure. If we break this structure, we're pretty much in trouble. So we don't want to have to be rebuilding it. It's just not what we want to do. So we're going to be okay with just taking our time. All right. So we are broken through on this side. You just heard it. Okay. So now we're just going to continue to do the same thing on this side with the very tip of our knife. All right, guys, so we are broken free in the front. Okay, we're broken free, so we are cut. At this point, if you feel like you didn't do it right for some reason, stop right here. Okay, what you can do is you can go ahead and slap you some tape on the inside of here. Okay, get you some type of acrylic, Bondo, whatever, sand this real well, redo the roof, you're done. You're going to stick with a hard top if you feel like you didn't get the cut right or you messed it up, whatever it may be, okay? So from here, what we're going to do, once again, we're going to take the edge of our knife, okay? And we are going to cut these thicker areas with our blade. All right, we want to make sure that when we're cutting, we are in the proper area. Okay. At this point, you need to be very careful about putting too much strain on the roof, as the roof is not structurally sound anymore. So we need to make sure that we're not putting undue strain on it. Now at this point, If you do not have any use for the rest of this roof, now that we are separated, okay, now that there's not going to be no strain on these core supports at the front, we can go ahead and take snips and we can cut it high, okay? Then we can work a blade around here and we're good. If you do not have any use for the roof, as I do not, I am going to cut it high, okay? So I'm just going to cut high up here real quick. I'm going to show you in a second what I mean by this. You always want to cut so that you're not putting no strain on your build, okay? 1 second here, and I will show you what I mean. Okay, so our roof is off, and what I meant was whenever you're going in, you don't want it to be where it turns the roof down when you're cutting it. You want it to be just a cut. It's not putting no strain on anything. Here is our drop top. Now we have our marks. We'll now cut these off, okay? And you'll sand it, and you now have a convertible 6.4 Impala. Okay, so now what we'll do, now that we don't have any strain, we can take our little cutters here, the very tips, and we're just going to cut through that trim. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to cut the trim. We're not cutting the whole piece, just the trim. Okay, we did it a minute ago with our knives. Now we're going to do it again with the cutters. Okay, so now we're cut through. Okay, now we're going to use our blade again. At this point, you can use your smaller blade, your larger blade. That is entirely up to you. While you are doing this, be courteous of the surrounding trim. If you go too hard, you'll slide off and you'll nick into your car. It's not fun. It looks very crappy. So you want to make sure that you're holding the knife in a good posture. You're not putting too much pressure down so that the knife slips off and ends up somewhere you don't want it to be. So we're holding the knife at the very tip. And we're pulling the knife in a way that it's not going to damage any other structures of ours. As you get deeper, you can pull more. When you get to the edge, you want to make sure you're pulling the scalpel up. Okay? You want to make sure, like I said, as you get to the edge, we are pulling the scalpel in an upward way so as not to strike down on our panel and cause undue problems. Okay? If you feel like by the time you get done with this process, your knife's getting dull, go ahead and switch your knife for the other knife. And it should start to pull a little bit easier for you. If you have an abundance of blades, go ahead and do that. But at this point, you are working on a thick structure of the car. It may take you a little time, but models take time. We all know that. So at this point, once you do get through there enough, you can go ahead and just break it off. You don't want to pull it away. You might have a little bit of texture still to that point. You just slice it off. And there you have it. You still have this riser back here that you can sand down and play with or leave there. It's a good thing to leave this bevel because when you do get that boot, the boot sits on that bevel. That's what keeps it in place. So you do not, absolutely do not if you're going to get a boot, you do not want to sand this flat all the way around. You want to have that little hiccup right there. Okay? That trim is there for a reason. It's on all convertibles. So you need to make sure you're leaving that there. Okay? Which is why in the first place we left why we're cutting how we're cutting and above the riser. Okay? So give me 1 second. Let me start this cut, guys. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish this out on film, okay? And, or on camera, sorry, on film. What am I, in the 70s? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue this out and get this done. And then I have a couple more tips for you guys as soon as we get done here. Stick with us. So tell me in the comments, guys, what is the car you guys are trying to cut the roof off of? And also let me know, have you guys ever cut the roof off of one of your models? And what are you planning to do with the car you're cutting the roof off? I'd be curious to hear your build ambitions and what you guys have going. Always appreciate the support and love that you guys give, and you know, I love to hear your about your builds, and I love to hear your guys' stories. So definitely drop that below in the comments and let me know. And if any of my build videos ever help you guys, please give me a like. Okay, that shows a lot of support. Please subscribe. That shows the most support. I do all this for free. I don't get paid for this. I just like to help my fellow model builders. I've been doing it a long time. And if I can help anybody with any type of advice, well, that's what I'm here for. So, okay. So now we just broke this one loose. Like I said, once you get it halfway through there, guys, go ahead and you can bust it loose as long as it's not going to harbor your build. Alright, so we have a little bit of surrounding structure still there, so we're just going to trim that real fast. Which we still have work to do. Okay, here we go, guys. Finished product on the 6.4 Impala convertible. Alright, everything's cut. Looks really good. Now we can sand it. Get our bevel like we like. Get our rear like we like for the boot. And we're ready to go with a convertible 6.4. I do have a video out on a blue one I did. I sold it. Very nice car. Owner's lucky to have it. Alright guys, without further ado, that's going to do it today. Please like and subscribe if this video helped you. I appreciate you guys, and I love you as always. We'll catch you on the next one.